most of the MAHA movement, most of the people in the movement are like, this is great. We love Casey Means. We want her to be in charge. But then these two people who very often will be on opposite sides, on this case, are absolutely both kind of against it. Now, I don't want to say necessarily that Nicole Shanahan is against it. I don't want to speak for her. She's not saying that, but she's definitely, I would say, probably in her own words, I would guess. I will put her words here so you'll see she can speak for herself in this regard. I would say not exactly as happy as can be and has some concerns. Laura Loomer is obviously against this pick. So clearly, obviously against this pick, not even playing at all, completely and totally against this pick. Now, why does this matter so much? I'm going to go from a whole different side of this, which I know most of you would say this. You would realize this. If you remember, there was first this Dr. Janet, I don't know if I say her name, is it Neshawat? I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. She was supposed to be the person who was going to, be this nominee. And supposedly this was someone that people didn't want her to be in the MAHA movement because she was too pro-establishment, was the concern that many people had in the MAHA movement, and not really, part of the movement. Well, it got removed. So Trump says, no, not her. And then says, hey, we're going to bring in this new one, Casey Means. Now, there are lots of attacks on her, and I get it. And I understand the attacks. I do. I don't want to discount them. They are actual attacks. I get it. And they're right. The question is, does it really matter? And that's a good point. A good question. Does it really matter? Right? So let me first start, if I could, with Laura Loomer, what she talks about. Then I will go to Nicole Shanahan, and then I'll go to a great thing, which of course Breaking Point's jumped on board because Breaking Points hates RFK Jr. because there's no reason for them to, but they do because they just establishment hacks half the time anyway. So yes, they hate him, but that's fine. Let me first bring up this. This is what Laura, see if I can find this piece here. Laura Loomer says, this is her from her Twitter post. This is a terrible pick by President Trump. Casey Means doesn't even have an active medical license. True. Now you might say, Larry, how can you pick someone who doesn't have an active medical license? Well, you don't have to be a doctor to be Surgeon General, number one. Number two, she is still a doctor. She just doesn't practice medicine anymore. It's no different than a lawyer who got a law degree and used to, keep up with their law license, decides to not be a lawyer anymore, and then decides to not keep up with their law license, right? You have to do, for those of you who don't know, most of you probably do know, you have to do continuing education to continually keep and retain your license for the state. I get it. Casey has decided she doesn't want to practice medicine anymore, so she doesn't do that. That doesn't make her bad. That means she's not practicing medicine anymore. She still graduated from medical school, still was a practicing doctor, isn't anymore. So that's an accurate statement, but not required. Laura goes on to say, shouldn't the U.S. Surgeon General have an active medical license? No, not required at all. Again, Laura, don't be mad at me if you haven't been watching. I'm not mad at you for this. I get, to be clear, some of you might say, why is Laura so angry? Look, I know Laura can be motivated. How about that? Is that a good word? She can be motivated. Absolutely, she can be motivated. Now, with that in mind, Laura doesn't do this because she wants clicks. I mean, she gets them, but that's not why she does it. She is a true believer. There's no doubt. If any of you happen to know her, she is a true believer. She honestly believes in MAGA. She honestly believes in Donald Trump. That's real. She says this because she believes it. It's not because she's trying to get clicks. That's not who she is. She honestly believes this. She would let it all burn down if she thought that was going to get this movement ahead. That's what she cares about. That's where her head is. So she doesn't believe it. So I'm not mad at her for this. I just think she's on the wrong side in this one. She goes on to say, also, I thought you opposed making kids trans. It's child abuse. Now, that's unfair. That's unfair, Laura. Her father did write a book that was about kids who are gay or trans or unsure about their gender or their sexuality. And in the book, I think it's like a bird realizes that the bird is gay. Okay, I got it. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you're upset with that. It's her father. It's not her. There's no difference in the attacks they made with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard's father, I believe, was I forgot, some type of evangelical preacher or something like that. I'm going to get that wrong, but some of you remember that. And they were like, now she's that. No, that's her father. That's not her, right? When it was Biden and Hunter Biden, punish Hunter for what Hunter did and Biden for what Biden did. Now, Biden did stuff and should have been punished. But for Biden's stuff, not for Hunter's stuff. They're two separate issues. You don't keep them together. And in this case, that's not true. So she also talks about things like she's talking about praying to inanimate objects, talking to spiritual mediums, searching for stardust, talking to trees, and doing shrooms. All true. And at least half of the women who are listening and watching this now have done at least one of those, if not all of them. That's not an uncommon thing, Laura. I know you don't like it. And I get it. And probably you don't do shrooms or talk to that inanimate objects or whatever. But when it comes to things like spirituality and odd forms of spirituality compared to the straight, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or whatever the case may be, there are a whole lot of women in this country who are open to those things and who do many of those things. Something to remember. And for those of you who are upset about this, there may be other reasons, and Nicole has different reasons, which I will cover in a moment. These aren't Nicole's reasons, by the way. These are Laura Loomer's reasons, not Nicole's. They're separate. In the case of these pieces, look, if you are a Trump supporter and you want him to get his agenda done, and I know some of you who are listening do like Trump and want him to get his agenda done, remember something. Trump doesn't have a mandate. He doesn't beat Harris in the popular vote if it wasn't for MAHA. Let me say it again for those of you who support Trump and want him to get his agenda done. Okay, great, good for you. He doesn't have a mandate if it isn't for MAHA. MAHA movement was at least 3 million votes that came from Kennedy that went to Trump because of Kennedy. Now, a huge chunk of those are crunchy women. And you know what I mean when I say crunchy women. A huge chunk of them are. Many of them are former Democrats. I would argue most of them are former Democrats. Yes. So you've now created a unity ticket. That's what you've created, Mr. Trump. You made a unity ticket. You added MAHA as part of that. MAHA is responsible for your mandate. You're going to have to give something. Laura, don't be mad. If you want Trump to keep his mandate, if you want Trump to keep MAHA, you got to give. I know you don't like it. It isn't the end of the world. It isn't. You got to give. That's how that works. And so she talks to trees. I live in New York City. Half the women I know talk to trees. They're wonderful people. I love them. It's all good. And many of them supported Kennedy. And many of them now are supporting Republicans and supporting Trump because they absorbed MAHA. Republicans, if you want to keep MAHA, you got to give. That's how that works. Now, you don't have to. You could be a purist. And to be forward, Laura is a purist. It is my opinion, for those of you who don't like Casey, for these reasons, I'm talking for Laura's reasons, not Nicole's, this is not a hill worth dying on. It just isn't. Let me explain why. What does she become? She becomes another spokesperson for the MAHA movement. Don't you want that? If you support the MAHA movement, don't you want that? Another one, someone who is savvy in front of the media, someone who's been on all the social media shows, someone who can go back on because they all like her. Do you think she can't go back on Rogan right now? Can't go back on whatever, Glenn Beck or wherever she wants to go on? She can't go back on them right now? Of course she can. Pushing the issues that the MAHA movement cares about. You think the other one could have done that? No. That's a positive thing. That's a good thing we should consider.